When a gigantic meteor collides with Earth, a group of prehistoric animals must band together to prevent life on the planet from becoming extinct. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, Ice Age, Collision Course, from 2016. In the Ice Age, the prehistoric squirrel, Scrat, is looking for a place to keep his beloved nut. He finds a spot in the middle of the snow and is about to stick it in the ground. However, the squirrel sinks into a hole, which leads him to a cave. Inside, he finds an ice platform and places his nut there. Just then, lights come on all over the cave, which is actually a flying saucer that has been frozen for thousands of years. The squirrel tries to remove the nut, but this activates the ship's controls and it flies off at high speed, heading for outer space. The ship then crashes into several planets, which are scattered across the universe to form the Milky Way. When he sees the galaxy he has accidentally created, Scrat gets emotional, but one of his tears wets the controls of the ship, which flies off again. To make matters worse, Scrat and his nut are thrown into an elevator, which dresses them in astronaut clothes and then throws them out of the ship through the back hatch. Luckily, the squirrel and his nut are attached to the flying saucer by a cable. However, two planets collide in front of them, which creates a meteor shower. Scrat tries to dodge them, but the ship collides with a gigantic meteor and the impact throws the squirrel to the other side of the meteor. Nevertheless, he emerges safe and sound and finds his nut. Finally, Scrat decides to stick it in the meteor to keep it safe. However, the hole in the walnut creates a crack in the meteor, which splits into two huge halves and one of them goes on a collision course with the Earth. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, the mammoth Manny and his daughter Amora are playing ice hockey. Their fun is interrupted by Julian, Amora's boyfriend and future husband. The old mammoth is not happy with the idea of separating from his daughter, but his wife, Ellie, encourages him to be more friendly with his future son-in-law. Nearby, Sloth Sid rehearses proposing to his girlfriend Francine. Seconds later, she shows up and decides to end everything between the two of them, even though Sid had planned marriage, fatherhood and even life after perishment. In another part of the forest, Manny meets his friend Diego and the two talk about their wives and the difficulties of marriage. Sid also shows up there, still devastated by his breakup, but his friends come together to comfort him. Later, in outer space, Scrat manages to get back into the flying saucer, along with his nut. In the command center, the squirrel sees planet Earth and tries to guide the ship there, but he accidentally presses the wrong buttons and the ship travels in the opposite direction. Scrat tries to turn it off, but instead he changes the gravity command, which makes everything lighter and then heavier. Due to the force of gravity, the squirrel is pressed to the ground. He tries to get up and grab his nut, but when he touches it with his fingers, it starts spinning towards him. Scrat tries to run away, but the nut runs over him, crushing him. Just then, a celestial body collides with the giant meteor, forming several meteorites that travel towards Earth. At the same time, Sid and his friends walk through the forest, until they are surprised by a surprise party. The celebration was organized by Ellie to commemorate her wedding anniversary with Manny. The problem was that the mammoth didn't remember the date and didn't prepare anything for the day. Suddenly, fireworks burst in the sky and Ellie thinks that this was Manny's big present. The mammoth is relieved by this distraction, but is soon annoyed when Julian lets slip about his and Amora's plan to travel the world after the wedding. While father and daughter discuss their future, the fireworks in the sky soon turn out to be meteorites flying towards the forest. Seeing the flaming rocks approaching, all the animals run in panic to save themselves. At the same time, Manny, Diego, Sid and their families are fleeing towards a frozen lake, until one of the meteors falls there. Without wasting any time, everyone runs towards a cave and waits for the meteor shower to pass. Meanwhile, underground, the dinosaurs live in peace with Buck the Weasel. The peaceful atmosphere soon ends when a family of flying dinosaurs steals a Chasmosaur's egg. Realizing what has happened, Buck finishes his bath and chases after the thieves, who fly off towards a cliff. Thanks to his skill, his knife and a lot of insanity, the weasel recovers the stolen egg. However, the winged dinosaurs don't give up and try to catch Buck anyway. The weasel then uses his knife to crack the walls of the cliff, while sneaking through the caves. This maneuver causes the rocks on the cliff to start falling, some of them crushing the thieving dinosaurs. Thanks to this, Buck emerges victorious and returns the egg to the mother dinosaur. The weasel then wanders through the forest until he notices strange lights coming through the forest's ice roof. Because of this, he gets distracted and falls into an unexplored cave. While investigating the site, Buck finds a secret temple and accidentally steps on a device on the floor. This causes a mysterious totem with strange engravings to appear. The next day, with the meteor shower over, Sid and his friends leave the cave and find their home completely destroyed. Buck appears in front of them and takes the cave totem with him. The weasel explains that he has read the images on the totem pole and they reveal the destruction of the world, caused by a meteor. This tragic event has occurred on previous occasions, with the cosmic stone always falling in the same place, causing life to be extinguished and then renewed thousands of years later. It looks like this phenomenon is going to happen again in just over 2 days' time, and if something isn't done, they will all be extinguished. The only solution is to get to the place where the meteor will fall and prevent it from happening again. With no other choice, the group decide to follow their plan and set off on a journey into the unknown. Later, the family of flying dinosaurs, made up of Father Gavin and his children, Gertie and Roger, emerge to the surface. They overhear Buck's plan and decide to stop him, as the meteor will end life on Earth and only they will be left to dominate everything. Back on the spaceship, Scrat runs to get his nut, but it ends up in the laboratory room. There, the nut falls into a teleportation machine, which activates itself and starts taking the nut to various places. Even so, Scrat finally manages to catch it, but the machine hits him and his molecules mix with that of the nut, which creates bizarre versions of the squirrel. Finally, he manages to return to normal and tries to destroy the machine, but he and the nut are transported to the ship's toilet. The nut then ends up in the toilet and the squirrel tries to pick it up, but it is thrown out of the ship by the flush, which makes the animal very angry. Later, on Earth, the gang finds samples of the asteroid on the way, which have a high magnetic force. Buck deduces that the place where the meteor will fall has the same magnetism, which explains why meteors always fall in the same place. Buck also deduces that, with this magnetic force, they can create a way to attract the meteor and thus divert its collision course. The weasel then tells everyone to move on, until, far up in the sky, he sees the family of flying dinosaurs that he had faced days before. Buck sends his friends off down the forest path, while he stays behind and faces his adversaries. Shortly afterwards, Gavin flies towards the weasel and tries to devour it, but Buck manages to jump back and escape through the forest. After that, the group makes its way through the trees, until a large lake appears in front of them and they have to dodge it. Meanwhile, Scrat gradually learns how to control the ship and tries his best to recover his walnut, which is wandering through space. The fruit travels around the Earth and Scrat does the same with his ship. However, it creates a gravitational force that hits the planet exactly where the lake is. Thanks to this, the water rises due to gravity and so a passage is created for Buck and his friends to follow. The chase in space isn't over yet and Scrat fires the tractor beam to suck up his nut. Without realizing it, the squirrel sucks up the storm from another planet and sends it straight to Earth. What's worse is that this same storm has a high concentration of static energy, which generates several electrical discharges near where Buck and the group are. Noticing the energy charge, the weasel tells them not to make any sudden movements so as not to generate more charges. Even so, the skunk brothers, Crash and Eddie, start to move, which generates more energy concentrated in their bodies. The two touch hands and this causes a gigantic bolt of lightning to strike. However, by a stroke of luck, it hits Gavin and his children, who were following the group hidden in the clouds. Despite this, the danger is not over and the concentration of static energy is increasing all the time. Because of this, their hair becomes matted and the risk of lightning strikes is increasing. One of them hits Granny, Sid's sloth grandmother, but she's used to it and manages to survive. Soon afterwards, Amora is surrounded by several electrical discharges and asks for help. Her parents try to save her, but she manages to jump and holds onto the tree branch with her trunk. Meanwhile, Manny and Ellie end up falling in the same place their daughter was and now they're the ones trapped by the lightning. With the two in danger of being electrocuted, Diego grabs Crash and Eddie, rubs them together and manages to create a kind of lightning rod with their energy. Thanks to this, the tiger manages to deflect the lightning, saves his mammoth friends and then they all flee the forest. Suddenly, Buck hears the sound of a baby in the forest and runs to save it. However, an enormous amount of electricity creates an explosion, which throws the weasel outside. Fortunately, he managed to survive and brought back the baby, which was actually a pumpkin. Even so, the weasel became attached to the vegetable and decided to take it with him. The group continues their journey, but Buck decides to take a break to rest. At this point, Ellie tells Manny that she doesn't like the idea of her daughter leaving either and has come up with a plan. She tells Manny to make friends with Julian, while she talks to Amora and tries to convince her not to leave. The mammoth then calls the young man over for a game of field hockey, while Ellie chats with her daughter by the fire. However, the conversation soon changes when Ellie warns Amora about the risks of her trip. With the help of Crash, Eddie, Sid and her grandmother, she talks about the dangers of illness, accidents and even motherhood. However, the girl proves that she can take good care of herself, and even a child, and is able to counter her mother's arguments with ease. Meanwhile, Manny is also trying to convince Julian to give up the trip. However, the mammoth gets too carried away with the field hockey game and throws a rock right in his son-in-law's face. Seeing this, Amora helps her boyfriend recover and fights with her parents over their actions. Hours later, the group rests inside a cave, without realizing that Gavin and his children are watching them from afar. The leader then sends his son Roger to capture Buck so that they can take revenge for what he has done. However, instead of the weasel, Roger captures Granny Sloth, who thinks she's dreaming. The old woman believes that her time has come and that she is on her way to paradise. The trio then try to take advantage of her hallucinations to devour her, but Granny is much more skillful than they thought and manages to dodge their attacks. Even so, Gavin manages to devour her, but the old woman starts hitting him in the stomach. The dinosaur, with the help of his children, manages to spit out Granny, who falls over a cliff. The next morning, Buck wakes up and sees from his window that the meteor is getting closer and closer. On leaving the cave, he finds several feathers scattered on the ground and soon recognizes who they belong to. The group also wakes up and Sid realizes that his grandmother is missing. They all set off to investigate what happened to her and find a huge cliff in front of them. Buck then compares the location with one of the engravings on the totem pole and realizes that this is the place where the meteor will fall. As the weasel suspected, the environment is extremely magnetic, only they don't know how to remove these stones to divert the meteor's path. On top of all this trouble, Sid cries over the disappearance of his grandmother and the whole group loses hope of finding her. Until, from the cliff, they hear the old sloth's voice and run to rescue her. As they enter and run towards a cave, they finally find Grandma, who is being massaged by a mysterious rabbit. The group then goes deeper into the forest and finds a large kingdom, surrounded by precious minerals. Various animals live there, including a beautiful sloth called Brooke, who soon takes an interest in Sid and the feeling is mutual. However, Buck reminds everyone that they are still in danger from the meteor. Brooke then takes everyone on floating rocks through the city of Geotopia. At the end of the road, she introduces them to their leader, a peace and love llama called Shangri. Buck then explains about the asteroid that is about to hit the Earth and destroy everything. The only way for everyone to save themselves is to move the city of Geotopia into the atmosphere, so that its magnetic crystals can attract the meteor in another direction. However, Shangri-Lama doesn't care and thinks that everyone is safe there, as the crystals are able to delay old age. This makes the group lose hope of saving themselves, so they all decide to enjoy their last moments together. Sid and Brooke declare their love for each other and Sloth asks him to marry her. Sid accepts the proposal and then tries to remove a diamond from the wall to give to his beloved as a present. He manages to get it out, but this causes all the crystals to start shaking and then the entire city of Geotopia is destroyed. Because of this, the animals that used to live there start to age rapidly, including Shangri-Lama and Brooke. The llama is angry with Sid and the others, but Brooke understands that it's time to do something different and save the planet. While the two argue, Buck sees a volcano in front of him and has an idea. He intends to plug all the lava holes around it and thus generate a chain reaction to create an eruption. In this way, the force of the volcano will be able to launch the crystals into space and deflect the meteor. Although Llama doesn't like the idea, Brooke encourages everyone to follow the plan. Then the mission to save the world begins. Some of the animals cover the lava holes to generate pressure inside the volcano, and the others take all the magnetic crystals and throw them inside. The plan is going well, but from space, Scrat appears inside the ship as a professional pilot. However, his overconfidence doesn't make him realize that the flying saucer is heading towards the meteor, which leads him to travel even faster towards Earth. Seeing the asteroid approaching, Buck tells everyone to hurry. Manny and Julian pull a huge crystal across a bridge, only for Gavin to appear, destroy the bridge and the crystal to fall over a cliff. The weasel picks up his slingshot and takes aim at the villains, but is stopped by Roger, who knocks him to the ground. Buck explains what's about to happen and Gavin wants to continue with his domination plan, but the weasel says that no one will escape the meteor. Roger and Gertie agree with him and convince their father to save the world. Thanks to this, the three dinosaurs use ropes and pull the large crystal towards the volcano. They're almost there, but the three of them are hit by a meteorite and drop the crystal over the edge of the volcano. Manny then runs to push it back, but he doesn't have enough strength. Julian shows up to help his father-in-law and the two of them push the crystal as hard as they can, but it's no use. The animal sees a mountain curving in the opposite direction and has the idea of releasing the crystal and making it turn away. Despite his fears, Manny decides to give him a vote of confidence. The two then let go of the crystal and push it in the opposite direction. The large ore starts spinning down the curved mountain path and then rises to its peak and is thrown back into the volcano, but ends up on the edge again. Everyone thinks their hopes are over, but the crystal falls on the other side, straight into the eye of the volcano. The first part of the plan has worked and Manny and Julian need to get out of there. The meteor gets closer and closer and the volcano is about to erupt. However, to everyone's surprise, it loses all its energy. None of the animals understand what this means, but Granny sees behind her that one of the pressure holes is still open. She closes it with her cane and then the volcano explodes with full force. Thanks to this, the crystals are thrown into a gigantic smoke storm full of magnetic energy. All the animals gather nearby as the giant meteor draws ever closer. Everyone is preparing for the worst, until the storm begins to attract everything magnetic. Lo and behold, the meteor that was about to crash into the Earth is attracted by the static energy of the storm and its course is diverted away from the planet. Thanks to the maneuver created by Buck and his friends, the world was saved and the totem's prediction didn't come true this time. Everyone celebrates this great victory, especially Manny, who finally gives his blessing to Julian and Amora's wedding. The next day, the group decides to return to their old home. Sid says goodbye to Brooke, as she knows she only has a short time to live now that the crystals have worn off, and the two exchange drawings of themselves as a parting gift. Minutes later, one of the crystals thrown up by the volcano falls into a puddle where Shangri-Lama and his friends are bathing. The crystal has a strange effect on the water, which turns into a fountain of youth. Thanks to this, the whole place and the surrounding animals are rejuvenated, including Brooke and Granny, who has decided to stay too. A few days later, everyone gathers for Julian and Amora's wedding. The girl, however, isn't sure if it's really a good idea to travel the world, but her parents have decided to support her this time. The two young mammoths get married and all the animals celebrate their union. Sid, however, is still sad and missing Brooke, until she appears before him rejuvenated and the two declare their love for each other. After the meeting, Brooke sings a song in honor of Sid and the bride and groom. Then everyone celebrates the wedding and the certainty that they won't face extinction again. Later, light years away, Scrat continues his journey through space, this time heading for Mars. However, his ship loses control and crashes into the planet, whose surface is completely destroyed. Thanks to this, Scrat is not only the great creator of the Milky Way, but he also turned Mars into the famous Red Planet. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.